For almost 2 decades, the CW was the home of teen dramas, supernatural chaos, and soap opera storytelling. From Smallville to Supernatural, Charmed to The Vampire Diaries, this network gave a generation of fans the stories they wanted, and some they didn't even know they needed. But somewhere along the line, the network went from a cultural powerhouse to a shell of itself, and its downfall was messy, dramatic, and full of controversy behind the scenes. So how did the CW, a network which was built on teen fantasies and superhero mashups, collapse under the weight of its own success? Let's get into that now. When the CW launched in 2006, it was a result of a high-stakes merger between two struggling networks, UPN and the WB. Both networks had tried to capture younger viewers, but often fell short in ratings and profitability. By merging, the two networks hoped to consolidate their audiences, streamline production, and create a home for teen dramas and supernatural series that would appeal not just within the US, but also around the world. From the start, the CW leaned into what it knew the best, which was young, attractive casts, emotionally charged storylines, and highly marketable concepts. Gossip Girl debuted in 2007, a year after the CW was created. It delivered on scandal, romance, and drama set against the backdrop of New York's Upper East Side. Meanwhile, shows like One Tree Hill and Gilmore Girls were carried over from the WB, proving that the network could retain loyal audiences while introducing new ones. International distribution also quickly became a lifeline for the network. Fans in Europe, Latin America, and Asia were tuning in, often creating communities and discussion boards around their favourite shows. And it now wasn't just about the US ratings. The CW strategy relied heavily on global appeal. For example, Gossip Girl became a phenomenon in the UK and Mexico, among other countries. Supernatural, which debuted in 2005 on the WB before migrating to the CW, found its largest fan bases overseas, particularly in Brazil, Germany, and Canada. Then came The Vampire Diaries in 2009, which became one of the network's defining franchises. With its brooding love triangles, supernatural drama, and gothic charm, the show captured audiences worldwide. It eventually spun off into The Originals and later Legacies, which created an entire CW universe. The CW's golden age wasn't just about TV ratings though, it was also a cultural moment. Fans obsessed over their favourite characters, shipping potential couples, and plot twists were shared often before episodes even aired in their respective countries. Online communities, fanfiction, and YouTube recaps amplified the reach of the network. The CW became the epitome of teen drama, supernatural adventures, and serialized storytelling, which set the stage for nearly 2 decades of both success but also turbulence. However, that success was not going to last forever. The CW's earlier success relied on a formula which was attractive young actors, love triangles, high-stakes drama, and potentially some supernatural or fantastical elements. At first, this strategy worked brilliantly. Fans knew what to expect, but were still addicted to every twist and turn. For example, Riverdale, which premiered in 2017, epitomized this formula. It was a dark and edgy reimagining of the Archie comics characters. It immediately became a social media sensation, trending globally after every episode. But there was a cost to this formula. Spin-offs and interwoven storylines as well as repetitive plot devices made the shows feel like a copy of each other. Another show on the CW, The 100, which was a post-apocalyptic sci-fi series, introduced morally complex storytelling, but then made some decisions which angered fans. One in particular was the death of the character Lexa, a beloved lesbian character. Lexa's death sparked petitions, media coverage, and heated online debates, with people accusing the show of falling into the, quote, bury your gays or dead lesbian syndrome trope, which is when LGBT plus characters are killed off very quickly in a cliche fashion, more so than straight characters. There was so much backlash after Lexa's death that Jason Rothenberg, the executive producer and showrunner, issued a public apology to fans. The Vampire Diaries also faced criticism for repetitive love triangles and high-stake plot twists that occasionally felt forced or made no sense. Even minor plot devices were scrutinized by fans. Shipping wars became a major part of the CW experience. Couples such as Damien and Elena on The Vampire Diaries, Betty and Jughead on Riverdale, and Oliver and Felicity on Arrow were more than just fictional couples. They became battlegrounds for fans online. Obsessive discussion forums, Reddit threads, and Twitter hashtags could elevate or destroy a storyline. The network's reliance on this engagement became its strength but also weakness. Passionate fans were watching every episode, but also any mistake became magnified instantly. This formula also contributed to production pressures. Writers felt like they had to constantly create dramatic cliffhangers with shocking twists, while the actors faced grueling schedules and public scrutiny. While audiences lapped up the drama on screen, the drama behind the scenes was often even more scandalous. For example, on Riverdale, cast members frequently reported high-pressure schedules, inconsistent writing, and the mental strain of constant fan scrutiny. Lily Reinhart and Cole Sprouse openly discussed how social media amplified stress, turning minor creative disagreements into public arguments. The show Batwoman experienced perhaps the most notorious off-screen drama of them all. Ruby Rose, who played the main character of Kate Kane, abruptly left the show after season 1. At first, Ruby, who uses she/them pronouns, said in interviews that they just wanted to leave the show to pursue other projects, but Ruby later alleged that there was a hostile work environment and also significant production challenges, and that they were actually fired from the show. Ruby suffered a serious back injury during a stunt in season 1 and had to have major back surgery. But according to Ruby, they were forced to come back to work just 10 days after the surgery because the studio said they would have to fire everyone on the show and shut it down if Ruby didn't return quickly. It was also reported that there were unsafe working conditions on set, and several production staff ended up getting seriously injured during filming. For example, according to an article in Deadline, a production assistant named Amanda Smith was crushed when a bucket of a lift fell on her head, which caused serious spinal injuries, and Amanda was left quadriplegic. And because Amanda would not be able to work for the foreseeable future, a GoFundMe campaign was started for her. But going back to Ruby, after leaving the show, they spoke out on social media against the show's creators, saying, quote, "I will come for you, so what happened to me never happens to another person again, and so I can finally take back my life and the truth. Shame on you." In another post, Ruby said, quote, "To my dear fans still asking if I will return to that awful show, I wouldn't return for any amount of money, nor if a gun were to my head. Nor did I quit. I did not quit. They ruined Kate Kane and they destroyed Batwoman, not me. I followed orders, and if I wanted to stay, I was going to have to sign my rights away. Any threats, any bullying tactics or blackmail would not make me stand down." However, this seemed at odds with what Ruby's co-star Cameron Johnson said. In a Twitter post, he said that Ruby was definitely fired, and he said that the allegations of unsafe working conditions were, quote, "a lot of lies." There had also been allegations that Ruby had been fired due to multiple complaints of bad behaviour on set. So it seems that both sides seem to blame each other, so the truth remains unclear. However, what is clear is that after Ruby left Batwoman, the show struggled with a recast and ongoing creative tensions, which many fans and critics were vocal about in their outrage. On a similar note, other CW series also faced similar issues of tight budgets, overworked crews, and public criticism created a high-pressure environment that affected both actors and also the writers who were burnt out. The Vampire Diaries also had its share of tension. Nina Dobrev, who played the main character of Elena as well as her doppelganger Catherine, left the show after 6 seasons. This triggered endless speculation about disagreements among the cast and producers. Nina got candid about the reason she left the show in the book I Was Feeling Epic, an oral history of the Vampire Diaries. She revealed the real reason she left the show was due to pay disparity with her male co-stars, who were being paid much more than she was. In the book, Nina said, quote, "Candice, Kat, and I were the 3 lowest paid series regulars in the first 2 seasons. I wanted to play Catherine, but I wanted to be fairly compensated for that. I wanted to be an equal to the boys." One of the Vampire Diaries co-creators, Julie Plec, even said that they were told not to write episodes with Catherine in them because they didn't want to have to pay Nina more money for having to play more than one character. Although Nina left after season 6, she did return for the series finale, but apparently there was a long negotiation phase because the network didn't want to pay her. Nina revealed that she was offered 5 times less than her pay rate for season 6. In the book, Nina said, quote, "I needed to be paid parity to the boys. I had to put my foot down and say if it didn't happen, I wouldn't be able to come back. And it wasn't about the money. I don't give a bleep about the money at all. It was the principle." Going back to the CW's downfall in general, the fandoms also amplified the chaos. Obsessive audiences created both support but also stress. While the fans did help shows trend online, it also forced producers to constantly react to criticism. Social media outrage over characters' deaths, narrative choices, or perceived favoritism could spark petitions, viral hashtags, and a lot of media scrutiny. Or in other words, the CW thrived on its audience's passion, but also struggled because of it as well. Behind the scenes, tension as well as tight schedules and fan pressure all combined together to create an environment of constant volatility, with the Arrowverse era being a prime example of this. For a while, superhero shows offered the CW a brief rest from the turmoil. Arrow, which premiered in 2012, became the foundation of the Arrowverse, which later included shows like The Flash, Supergirl, Legends of Tomorrow, and Batwoman. Crossovers between these shows were massive events, and the fan excitement reached new levels. These shows attracted older audiences, comic book fans, and international audiences, which expanded the network's demographic beyond its traditional teen base. But even the Arrowverse faced behind-the-scenes challenges. Tight budgets, demanding schedules, and creative conflicts were constant issues. Batwoman, as I already mentioned, had a lot of controversy after recasting its main character. Legend of Tomorrow became known for erratic tone shifts and balancing serious stakes with absurd humour. Fans were enthusiastic, but increasingly critical, dissecting every storyline and timeline as well as crossovers. But the main issue seemed to be money. The budget of the CW got slashed over time, which meant that the budgets were tight across the board, and the Arrowverse was massively affected by this. There was also massive competition from other big franchises like the MCU. Despite its popularity, the Arrowverse couldn't solve the CW's structural problems. Production costs, creative burnout, and declining live ratings exposed how fragile the CW's model was. Even the superhero series, which often had international appeal as well as big merchandising potential, could not reverse the overall trend of decline. Behind the glitz and glamour, the CW was always financially shaky. Licensing deals and international distribution, as well as streaming partnerships, particularly with things like Netflix, were essential to the network's success. Shows that performed badly within the US could still be profitable thanks to overseas sales and streaming revenue. But by the 2010s, these lifelines had started to become weaker. Netflix began renegotiating contracts, Warner Brothers prioritized HBO Max, and CBS focused on Paramount Plus. Shows that had once been guaranteed to make a profit faced massive scrutiny. This also forced budget cuts that affected production values as well as morale. But the final blow was yet to come, so let's get into that now. In 2022, Next Star Media Group purchased a controlling stake in the CW. The focus shifted immediately from creativity to profitability. The network cancelled several shows including Batwoman, Legacies, Riverdale, Charmed, as well as Nancy Drew. Fan petitions, social media campaigns, and public outcry had little effect. The CW's identity, which was built on teen dramas, superhero series, and supernatural shows, was dismantled almost overnight. This new corporate shift emphasized low-cost productions as well as reruns and reality TV shows. High-budget shows became liabilities, and even long-running fan-favourite shows could no longer justify the high production costs. And because of this, many people now see the CW as a shell of its former self. It's still profitable, but it's become potentially culturally irrelevant. Despite its collapse, the CW's influence is undeniable. It shaped the way that we saw teen drama, supernatural storytelling, as well as serialized television for a global audience. Series like The Vampire Diaries, Supernatural, and Gossip Girl continue to be discovered by new fans, while conventions, fan fiction, and online communities keep these shows alive even today. But the CW also serves as a cautionary tale that reliance on a formula as well as overextended franchises and an obsessive fandom can ultimately topple even the most successful network. Behind the scenes, there was lots of drama as well as low budgets and corporate decisions that also sealed the network's fate. You could say that the CW's story is one of success but also tragedy. It was a network that delivered iconic shows that people still love today, but ultimately it collapsed under a mix of creative and financial pressure. For many people, the CW will be remembered as a global phenomenon that defined an era. It did shine very brightly, but it also fell from grace as well. So let me know in the comments, why do you think the CW ultimately failed? And what was your favourite show on the CW? Let me know in the comments. If you'd like to get early access to my videos as well as other benefits, please consider subscribing to my Patreon. It just costs a few dollars a month and it really helps support my channel, and I'll leave a link to that in the description. Please make sure you like and comment on this video to help tell the algorithm this is a great video, and please make sure you subscribe to my channel because it really does make a huge difference. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you again in a future video. Thank you, bye!